Welcome to Frank and Upfront Live, an audiophile for audiophiles. Today is Monday, April 17th, 2023. I am your host, Mr. Franklin. Welcome to all of you in the chat. Welcome to all of you listening. And I hope that what I have to say today, I hope that this message will edify the heart and ears of the listener. This week's topic: the reason why they outlawed marijuana. What you have just heard is a song by Peter, Paul, and Mary called Puff the Magic Dragon that was released in 1963. It's a song. It sounds like a children's fairy tale. If you're listening with a conscious mind, but if you are listening with your subconscious and you could hear the subliminals, it sounds like it's a song about marijuana. A song about psychedelic recreation, and they're singing about the things that they see on their trips when they recreate psychedelically. They're singing about a magic dragon, and of course his name is Puff. Why is his name Puff? His name is Puff because I think it is in reference to ganja smoke. So he is named after ganja smoke as far as I'm concerned. And they're basically singing about the things that they witness. A land of witch enchantment called Hanali that they happen to visit it whenever they take their trips. So the entire song takes place in their trip. And the reason why that is significant for today's topic is because today is the 17th of April. 3 days from now, on Thursday, will be the 20th of April. And which is 420, which is International Ganja Day. A day when all people who have green consciousness, all people who have green consciousness would then be able to, at least for a day, hold hands and frolic in the sun and enjoy the wonders of a truly medicinal plant. But this plant, however, is very controversial, and throughout history, have been outlawed. Not throughout history, I'm sorry, throughout a good chunk of our modern history, marijuana has been outlawed throughout much of the 20th century. Marijuana, a truly medicinal plant, has been outlawed and has been listed as a drug. When I was a kid growing up in Jamaica, and the first time I was told about drugs, um, I was told about two main kinds of drugs. I was told about cocaine and I was told about ganja. Ganja is, of course, marijuana, but that's the first name I learned to call it. I wish to welcome Sean to the live studio. Welcome, welcome. So the first name I learned to call it was ganja. And it should have never been mentioned in the same sentence as cocaine, because cocaine it comes from a plant, but it's not a plant. It has been broken down, and the harmful chemicals have been extracted, and that's what they tell you, not the coca plant, the harmful chemicals within the plant, the chemicals that would cause addiction and all kind of substance abuse. It's a narcotic. Meanwhile, marijuana is a plant, it's a flower. So now, why would a flower, why would something as natural as a flower in its natural state be labeled a drug? And outlawed and be shrouded within so much controversy for so many decades. Many users claim that when they use marijuana, among other kinds of psychedelic substances, whether it's psilocybin, mushrooms, or LSD or DMT, that these psychedelic substances cause an ego death. And with the death of the ego, the soul is now free to explore within itself. So many users advise people that you could have either a good trip or a bad trip depending on one of two things: your set or your setting. Your set is external, your environment externally, and your setting is internal, your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions. And if you have bad thoughts and you ate bad food, you're going to have a bad trip. And so, because your setting or what's going on internally is so important, majority of what users witness on their trips is not coming from any external source, but from within. What they see is what they already know within, but the ego often blocks them from connecting with what's within. So these trips will first cause an ego death before it can show you an internal microfilm or a movie, if you will, as to what is within you that you may have already been familiar. Thank you, Sean, for liking the show. Thank you very much. Hold on one moment, please. Okay, welcome back. And so because of what's going on internally and what you may see and your spiritual connection to within to your internal self and also to source and the universe and all of those things and the answers you may seek, you are now dangerous. You're now a threat to the establishment. Remember, the government doesn't want you to think. The government doesn't like when we think. So anything that will make us think too much and think our way out of the box, you now instantly become a threat to anyone who has a control agenda. They don't want you having any connection to anything that could set us free. And if these trips will set us free, then the substance that would allow for the trips to take place would be outlawed, whether or not they're natural, and would be bunched up and mentioned in the same sentence as other more dangerous artificial substances, such as cocaine and crystal meth and other narcotics. When really and truly, the marijuana is just a plant. It's a flower. And so there was a conspiracy, and the FBI and the CIA and Secret Service and Interpol and everybody, MI6, were all in on it. They're going to spread propaganda They're going to use a foreign sounding name like marijuana to make it sound more mysterious and more dangerous, which is racist because it is a nod to the Mexican cartel. So they gave it a Spanish name so it sounds dangerous and deadly. As propaganda to spread to the majority of the American masses at the time who were white, to suggest to them that only Black and Hispanic people use marijuana, and that when Black men use marijuana, they become sex crazed and rape white girls and all those things. That was also a part of the propaganda as well, And for that reason, it gave a negative stigma. And many people, then they labeled it as a drug, and many people decided to stop using it. Many of the then majority of the American public, white people, stopped using it. They outlawed it. Many Black and Hispanic people as well decided that it was dangerous and that they also ought not use it as well. And that they don't want to be, they have a reputation to uphold and they don't want to associate with anything that would put them on a lower vibration and make them look criminal. It has a reputation attached to it. To the extent that a few years ago in Jamaica, there's a Jamaican journalist who had written in The Observer saying, the article is called "Finally Free to Burn a Spliff." So, a spliff, a ganja spliff, is a joint. The Jamaican name for joint is spliff. So to burn a ganja spliff, finally free to burn a spliff. So the journalist was saying, well-known journalist, was saying that if she ever decided to try marijuana, she would have someone roll a spliff for her, someone trustworthy, because she doesn't want to feel like a criminal rolling the spliff herself. And all that is coming from the same brainwashed narrative caused by the propaganda that the government put out way back during the 1920s, right around the time of Prohibition. And so many people have this stigma, don't want to be associated with it, wish to disconnect from it or to not be associated or seen with it. And they feel like only black criminals and Latin criminals deserve to have those, or are fitting to have that image, the image of the ganja spliff in their possession, or the joint, the weed joint in their possession. And you know something, I had to clarify that misconception, because despite the propaganda and the negative stigma in the press, there are still high class people of all different kinds of races who use marijuana, and they are not depicting criminal stereotypes while using. So for them to have the image of the criminal stereotype on the street corner or the alleyway somewhere, rolling up a joint or a spliff, as we call it in Jamaica, for them to have that kind of imagery in their head, they are brainwashed. Even black people that the Jamaican journalists are telling about is brainwashed by a white supremacy narrative, have been brainwashed by a white supremacy narrative to see themselves as being inherently bad for having or for using marijuana. And then not only did the propaganda produce or create a negative stereotype based on social or racial structures or societal, any other kind of societal structure, but then they also tell you as well, if that wasn't enough to convince you, they also tell you that your brain cells will be depleted and destroyed. It's going to slow you down. There's some truth to that. It causes mental fog. It doesn't destroy your brain cells or turn you into an idiot. Maybe overuse will do that. Overuse will do that, but if you use it in moderation, then it will give you mental fog while you're on your trip, but that's temporary. And if you insist on using it with you knowing that, it is for you to then decide the time of day for which it is appropriate to use. For example, I would use in the evening when I'm home and I have no responsibility. So between 6 and 10 p.m. in the evening. That's me personally. That's when I use. Right? And because I know it would have an effect on me, I have to make sure that I take care of all of my responsibilities so that um, my responsibilities will not suffer as a result of me doing that. So you have your daytime hours from maybe 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. to do all you have to do. Then your recreational time in the evening from like 6 till 9 or 10 in the evening when you use psychedelic substances and take your trips then. And then you go to sleep, you sleep it off, and you wake up the next morning. And the morning after, I'm not even hungover, I'm fine. I still feel nice and mellow and relaxed, but I'm fine for the most part. It puts me in a very relaxed state. I think it produces melatonin. I'm not sure. There's a link between marijuana's production of melatonin. And so now, one has to be responsible with when they use it, and not only when, but how they use it. Because if you don't smoke cigarettes, you shouldn't smoke anything else either, including marijuana. But there are other ways to ingest THC into your system without smoking it. There are those who can. There are those who will buy the edibles. You could eat edibles, pot brownies, and all these things. You have CBD oil and THC oil. You could ingest the oil, or you could drink the tea. But here is the downside with the tea. If you want the trip, you have to put oil in it. And you don't want oily tea, so, or you could make cannabis butter to add to your smoothies or whatever it is. Or you can actually make soup, not tea, because soup can be oily. Soup is full of chicken skin and all these things that produce oil, so it's already oily. We're already familiar with oily soup, so if you don't like oil in your tea, then turn the tea into a soup of some kind, like what I do, and drink it that way. The downside is the trip doesn't begin for another 2 hours, especially if you ate before you drank the ganja soup, because if you ate before you drink the ganja soup, um, it may take 3 hours instead of two. But if you drink the ganja soup on an empty stomach, it might take 40 minutes. Or if you drink the ganja soup or tea on a stomach that's only half full, 2 hours after a meal, it may take 90 minutes or 80 minutes. 3 hours after a meal, it might go down to an hour. That's how it works because the food, the stomach contents absorb the THC and everything else that's going on. So, but it's worth it. To me, it's worth it to make sure I don't smoke. It's very worth it. But what I would do is maybe drink the ganja tea an hour after a meal. So there's not too much absorption of stomach contents. And by the way, if you take an extra dosage, the trip will be more intense. You will probably get the munchies. And when you do, you're going to eat. And when you eat, you're going to put back food in your stomach to absorb the THC to reduce the effect of the trip. So if you're going to eat, if you're going to take on an empty stomach, I recommend also increasing the dosage. Learn your dosage based on your height, your weight, your age, and your gender, and increase the dosage. And to me, that is worth it to make sure I don't smoke it. And none of those other methods of consuming marijuana has a negative connotation attached to it. It is not depicting a criminal stereotype. So it is not what you use, it's how you use it. And because many users continued using it throughout the decades by those means and those methods by which to debunk the government propaganda, when they decide to legalize it, they decided to market it in a way that makes it sexy and seductive. So it went from being criminal to being sexy and seductive. What could have changed? A plant is still a plant, regardless. A very controversial one. When you eat spinach, it doesn't get you high, but when you use any kind of product that comes from the cannabis plant, it gets you high. It doesn't damage your brain like cocaine and crystal meth or heroin does, but it gets you high. It puts you in an altered state of reality and brings out the focus to reveal to you, put the focus on what's been going on internally by means of an ego death. So it's really more of a spiritual experience. But it's still a hedonistic experience regardless. It's still a pleasurable experience. And hedonistic thrill seekers have, for many decades or even centuries, used marijuana recreationally for spiritual enlightenment and hedonistic satisfaction. So anyway, if the government can't make up their minds as to whether it's good or bad or whether it's criminal or seductive, are they a reliable reference to morality and safety? Okay, hold on one moment, please. Okay, welcome back. So now, first it was criminal, and it caused men who are not white to become sex crazed, as they said, and rape all these white women and all these things. And that's just propaganda, of course. But now it's sexy and seductive and cool. And they give it names like indica and sativa. And they have all this smoke to glamorize it. And everybody's using it now and all these things. You know. But they ruled it a dangerous drug. And it got bunched up with cocaine, heroin, and crystal meth. If they can't make up their minds, can we rely on them to be a reliable reference for what is safe or what is moral or ethical? But then again, we now know that they outlaw things. as a part of their control agenda. Anything that will bring you back to your true self. Anything that will bring you back to your true self, they don't want you doing it. So that's the reason behind them outlawing it. They don't want people waking up. You can't be woke out here. You gotta swallow the blue pill and go back to sleep already so they can keep doing these things behind your back, keep having you working these crap jobs and paying taxes and paying rent and bills and all these things, and keep vilifying the Middle East Islamic extremists and manufacturing your consent for them to go to war that has nothing to do with you and fight these people that has nothing to do with you, that never killed you or harmed you in any way. They want us going back to sleep and being docile and paying bills and paying child support and paying alimony and paying rent and paying all these bills and buying all the bad food that's not even good for you. Which all of the cravings to do all of those things come from the ego. When the ego dies, you no longer care about these worldly things. You tap into your true self and your true potential. And you even run the risk, or I should say, you stand a greater chance of becoming more independent and to not need them anymore. Sean says van life. You mean like an RV? Like just boondocking in your RV in the desert? That sounds good, man. Sounds independent. Van life. He says RV is a waste. Well, what do you mean? So, which is better, an RV, a boat, or what do I call those ones? Mobile homes or something? A basic work van. You mean like the Mystery Machine? Like the Mystery Machine van from Scooby Doo? Not bad. Mobile homes are a waste of money. What about a yacht? I don't mind getting an RV and going off the grid as long as I got my girl with me, man. I'm not going out there by myself. I mean, I could, but it's better with two. So yeah, no payments, no rent, no taxes. Just me and my RV against the world, or my van or something. So you stand a chance of becoming independent, so independent, in fact, that you don't need the government anymore. You don't need these jobs anymore. You fall off the grid. And they hate that. And they even use a shaming word to describe that. They call it dereliction, you're good for nothing. Why? Because you're not serving them. You're serving yourself, though. You're not producing for them. You're serving yourself, though. How is that derelict? I don't get it. All right. RV takes too much in gas and clings to unnecessary things like shower. And clings to unnecessary things like shower, oven, etc. You need those items. They're not unnecessary. You want all the modern amenities that we have become very familiar with and have decided that we can't live without. So you could be comfortable. It's like having a mobile home that you're driving around. Grab a shower at the gym. Now that's being truly like a nomad. That's a nomad right there, for real. But if you grab a shower at the gym, though, you're still relying on their world and their system. At least with an RV, you could drive to a river and use your hose to collect water from the river and I guess dump the waste in a. Well, how do they dump the waste? I think there are RV stations where you just pull up and dump the waste in a drainage sewer system somewhere that they have at these stations. So, despite all of these cool things being the case, it's now legal. That defeat the whole purpose. Well, to each his own. Whatever each person finds convenient for oneself. So, even though they are legalizing it, it's legal in some states, legal in Canada, legal in Jamaica, legal in Mexico. Um, but it's still illegal in some other states, and it is still federally illegal. So if the feds catch you with it, if the LAPD catch you with it, it's legal. It's legal. This is fine as long as you're not selling it without a license. But for your own personal use, hey, yeah, you're good. But if the feds catch you with it, you're not good. It's illegal. It's a federally recognized as an illegal substance. So each of the 50 states and the feds can't make up their mind as to whether it's good or bad. Once again, trust your own instinct. Do you want to use it? Use it. You don't want to use it? No pressure. Don't use it. Okay? So we take a break right here, and when we come back, we'll be taking your calls here on this program, and I hope you'll join me then. Keep it locked on Frank and Upfront. Welcome back to Frank and Upfront Live, an audiophile for audiophiles. This week's topic: the reason why they outlawed marijuana. In this segment, we'll be taking your calls here on this program. And the rules for calling the show: 10-15 minutes for each caller. And please stick to the topic to the best of your abilities. But I will also honor other topic requests as well. Try not to ramble on too long. And we'll give everybody a chance. And we have another hour and a half on the show. Another hour and 15 minutes on the show. So we could make it work. In the meanwhile, however, while I wait for callers to call, the topic of why they outlawed marijuana. If you notice, with the hippie movement of the 1960s, many of those hippies, they were jobless, but they were not homeless. They were free from the system. There was lots of anti-Vietnam War sentiment. There was lots of civil rights sentiment to end segregation in the South. And the Woodstock rock concert of 1969 was a coming together of people of like mind with the intent of carrying out acts of peaceful protest. To hold hands and sing together many of their favorite rock songs that I call the sentiments of the time period. People thought they were bums, but once again, they were not. They were free. There's a difference between being a bum and being free. They chose that life path. They chose a nomadic journey. They chose that. And therefore, if someone chooses not to participate, they are not a bum, because in order to be a bum, you will have to request invitation to be rejected. Bums are rejected. You can't reject someone who chose to be free. And if too many people, when you understand that now, too many people who start becoming too free, it causes a paradigm shift. It causes a paradigm shift of a social shift in society. Because now the people who run society, if the best of the people have abandoned them, they have no choice but to pick the worst members of society, the people who they initially rejected, the real bums, and they don't want that. And so for that reason, they don't want too many people to get the sentiment or the idea that they can reject the system. So for that reason now, If they outlaw marijuana, many people who would have gotten the idea that they can be free from the system and this wicked world will never realize their true potential outside of the world, outside the system. Therefore, it evens out their system so they don't become too desperate and end up hiring the bums so they can continue rejecting the bums. But they need regular people in order to do so. If the regular people leave, they have no choice but to hire the bums. And even the bums may not want them because they might be woke too. So we can live without them. They can't live without us. It depends on what you're after. Depends on what you want. What do you want? We want freedom and they want control. We can be free without them. They can't have control without us. So who needs who more than who? And depending on what people see when they go on their trips, they could well be awoken to the realization that they don't need anyone or anything. If everyone was on TikTok, if everyone had a podcast, they wouldn't have people to move boxes in some Amazon warehouse somewhere. So therefore, they still need to hold some people back. So they can have a workforce to move the boxes in the Amazon warehouse, to operate the cranes, to operate the forklift in these warehouses. So they can once again use the internet to ship these same items that people order out to the buyer. When the solution is to have only a few employees who operate the machines, but it should be majority machine. A few years ago, there was talks of delivery drones, but those things haven't happened since. Since then, they haven't happened. Otherwise, it would be a whole swarm of delivery drones littering your skies, causing light pollution even at nighttime. And we haven't seen that, so delivery drones haven't taken over the world. That might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing, because everything should be automated to a certain extent, but not too much. So it's a good thing we still have um, delivery trucks on the road. And so large are their orders that Amazon has to outsource many of their deliveries to third-party companies to get more trucks on the road. It seems to me like they've opted for that option instead of the delivery flying drones. So who knows? But within the warehouse, however, everything should be automated so that they don't need too many people because people are waking up, becoming free, and leaving the workforce. And it is what they see on their trips when they have numbed their egos that inspire them to do that. Whatever it is that they see, I don't know. That's for them to know based on what goes on internally. It is for each individual to know what they see. That is none of mine or anybody's business. People see all kind of things. They see their past. They revisit their past. You know what happens on a trip? Everything that's already going on internally becomes amplified. So it's up to you to fix your setting to make sure that you're only thinking happy thoughts, genuinely happy thoughts when you're about to trip. Because if you are happy, you'll be happier. If you are sad, you'll be sadder. If you're angry, you'll be angrier. If you're scared, you'll be more fearful. And it would only bring out the worst in you. Or bring out not the worst, it would only bring out an amplified version of whatever it is that was going on within you. So that's why they say fix your set and your setting. Your set is external. You got to make sure that your environment is comfortable, it's clean. Fix the lighting, the temperature, and the music. And then fix your setting, that's your mood within you. Make sure you are having a good day. And do it recreationally in the evening or whatever works for you. Music is highly susceptible as it is, even when you're sober. Imagine how much more susceptible it is when you are high or taking a trip. There's a Twilight Zone episode called Piano in the House. And there's a man who buys a piano that plays itself to give to his wife as her birthday present because he believes that she's talentless and can't play the piano. And so each piano has different scrolls. The piano has different scrolls, different compositions, if you will, that when you hook it up to the piano, it plays that composition. And of course, it's the Twilight Zone, so so your setting is important. If you are an overthinker, you're going to be more so of an overthinker. So back to the Twilight Zone episode now. It's the Twilight Zone, so they're very susceptible. Strange things happen. And of course, music has the power to hypnotize people. People are susceptible to the power of music. And so each track in that episode reveals someone's personality, their real personality. It brings out their real personality. For example, the butler is a grumpy old man. They play a happy tune, and he starts laughing and dancing around and tumbling over on the couch and everything. And he thinks his wife loves him, but she actually hates him. And they play this fast-paced, frantic track to bring that out of her. And so he throws her a birthday party, and he decides to use the piano to embarrass all of her friends just for laughs because he thinks that they're all beneath him and inferior. But really and truly, he's afraid of all of them. He's jealous of all of them. Just like a typical narcissist. He's jealous of all of them. And he sabotaged their work on purpose by writing bad reviews about them that they don't deserve. And by trying to keep his wife from her one true love on purpose. And when it's his turn, when the piano gets around to the song that he is susceptible to, that has power over him now, all the stuff comes out now. All that stuff comes about him now. He feels insecure. He's spoiled, rageful, scared little boy deep down inside all the tough exterior. And he does all that to make sure everyone knows or believes that he's big and tough and not expose his facade. So that episode comes as close as possible to depicting what people experience on their trips. We don't have any evidence of drug use on that show, or at least in that episode. We only have evidence of the piano in the house, the piano in question. So then, is it safe to assume that the piano in question is the drug? We don't know if they had an actual substance in their system that they may have drank off camera before the scene started. We don't know that. It's a party, so we could at least assume that there's liquor involved or champagne. And of course, there may be many fan theories that suggest that they're under the influence, like mine. I think that they are. But, you know, without that knowledge, we can only assume that the piano is the only drug that brings up their true character of all of them. And that their writer, Rod Serling, creatively never disappoints, as he never does, as he always fails to disappoint, as he always succeeds in not disappointing. uses a very delicate item like a piano during a time when prohibition was not prohibition, I'm sorry, during a time when TV censorship was still very strict. So I get the subliminal message because I use, obviously. But I saw that episode before I started using when I was a teenager. And I didn't pick up on it back then as I do now. That's why reruns are important because the more you go in the world and the more life experience you get, is the more you revisit the same topic with a different set of eyes. And you start considering things that you never considered before. Reruns are very important, obviously. I'd like to welcome Epiphany. Is she gone again? So anyhow, your setting is no, I'm sorry. Yes, your setting is important, obviously, but your set is also very important too. You gotta play the right kind of music. Um, I don't want to butcher this name. Gasadak has entered the live studio. Yeah, you don't want to butcher your trip by ruining your setting or your set. Music has a seductive power over the individual, even more so when you're under the influence. So be careful what you listen to. If you listen to softer music, it will put you in a very sedated state of being. It will put you right on the therapist's couch. And your mind will play a microfilm for you. And you will get healthier. When you wake up from the trip, you get even healthier. So it is medicine for the mind. Even recreational is still medicine. And you know something very important, very interesting? Many people use it recreationally while bonding with their significant other. They say that it amplifies everything. It does. So then imagine how recreational marijuana use would amplify sex with someone you love. It would amplify it. It would be a very heavenly experience, wouldn't it? Oh gosh. Oh yes. Very much so. Apparently, what you feel has colors attached to it. Or at least that's my experience. Different pain have different colors. Different sensation have different colors. The ultimate experience of the hedonist. Sexual sensations have different colors in your mind if you're on a trip, of course. It amplifies everything, so sex with weed is better. Nothing like a little weed to spice up things in the bedroom. It's even better with someone if you're with somebody you love. If you're a first time user, I recommend taking your first few trips by yourself so you can gain the answers to life without distraction. Then you could recreate with your girlfriend because you have already experienced it by yourself. But experience it by yourself first and don't overdose. Because it can still be overwhelming, even though it's a plant. It's still psychoactive and it can still be very overwhelming. Of an experience. And if you're anxious, that anxiety will be amplified. And you will feel like you're going mad. But you're not going mad, it's temporary. You will come down from the high. And then you will go back, you will take it again. And with each time you take it, it becomes less and less intense. Until it becomes mellow and you start having good trips. And you start gaining the answers to life. You start self-counseling, giving self-therapy and all those things. That will help you in your sober life. Help you discover who you are on a path to freedom. And then now, you start recreating with your girlfriend. And that's where the fun part comes in because sex with weed is a very good mix, especially if you're both in a happy mood. You're both satisfied with life and have a belly full, and then you smoke and chill and fuck. Nothing more beautiful than that, man. Especially if your set is a rainy, which is raining outside, and you're inside, nice and warm and toasty. It's beautiful. But once again, it's the time of day or the day of the week. You're not going to be able to do anything. You're going to have fog, mental fog. You may want to order food. Because I wouldn't recommend using a stove when you're high. So lots of people order food when they're high. You're not going to be able to do anything much. It's going to make you, if you've been working hard and you haven't had a break all week or the last couple of weeks, the first time you're off since then, will be the time that you're on the couch, you use cannabis or any other kind of psychedelic, and you chill and recreate with your girl and spend time together and make love together. And especially if it's raining and the music is right, beautiful romantic time. She's also using, so she feels the same way too. As long as you surrender to the power of the trip and her feelings are mutual, then you will know if her feelings are mutual because her trip could tell her something else. Then you'll know if she really loves you or not. Likewise, she would know if you really love her or not. Then you'll know if you're compatible, and if you're not, then you're just not compatible. All of these things you will experience on your trip that the government doesn't want you to know, because the government wants you in broken relationships and marriages so you could conceive children with a co-parent who is incompatible with an enemy, actually, so that you could fight and bicker among yourselves and end up in the family court filing for child support. And that's how their legal industrial complex makes money off your child support cases. They get their cut too. So be careful. It will reveal who is compatible to you. They don't want to know any of that. You're here to work for them. That's how they see it in their minds. You're not here for yourself on your own ultimate hedonistic pursuits. You're here for their sake. That's not true. Don't buy into that. Ultimately, we don't know what is real. You know, one of my first few days in kindergarten, one of the nursery rhymes that we learned told me the meaning of life. And the song is called Row Your Boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is just a dream. Row, row, row your boat. You are the boat. Gently down the stream of life. Merrily, 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 merrily. It sounds ridiculous, but they're saying, be carefree because life is just a dream. It is very deep, it has deeper meaning. It has deeper meaning. Life is just a dream. We don't know what is the greater reality. We don't know if when we dream at night, if we're getting a sneak peek into the greater of the two realities. We don't know if what we see on our trip is the greater of two realities and that we are being sheltered from the greater of the two realities by taking the blue pill, say no to drugs and weed and all these things, and go back to sleep and otherwise go back to work. When in fact, when we dream is when we wake up. I have a theory. What if everything is an opposite of what we think it is or what we're told it is? And life is death and death is life. And to sleep is to wake up in a dream, which is reality. And to die is to wake up in the reality of the afterlife. Because why is this life so temporary in comparison to the rest of eternity? The afterlife has to be the greater of two realities. We're actually half dead in this state of being. We are very limited here in this world versus what we could be in the real world. What if when we wake up in the real world, we have powers that make us shoot laser beam out our eyes and fly and do all these things? We don't know. As for why we're here, I could do a whole show on that, so that's another episode. But the nursery rhymes are dropping the subliminals to us since literally our first day of kindergarten. Row, row, row your boat. The boat is you. Gently down the stream of life. Merrily, 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 do so in a carefree manner. And the reason why you're carefree is the punchline. Life is just a dream. Don't take this world too seriously. When you die is when you wake up. And they tell you The way it will end for you, for all of us, they tell you that at the very beginning. And every boy and girl in your kindergarten class on that day will die at different times within the lifetime of the last surviving member of that kindergarten class. So, with that said, each kindergartner will experience death or will therefore wake up from the dream of life at different times throughout the average life expectancy of your average human. Some will die young in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. Some will die in middle age between 60, 50 and like 70. Some will live up into their high 80s or 90. And you're lucky if everyone makes it past 70. You're lucky. But life is funny. You don't know who will live or die, or who will die when. So they're preparing you for how it will end at the beginning. At the beginning, they're preparing you for how it will end. And it will end at different times for each person. Who wrote that nursery rhyme? What do they know? Because it's very deep, very deep. So, to sleep is to wake up in the real world or what we think is a dream world. To die is to wake up in the afterlife, which is the real of the greater of two realities. The greater of two realities. And to take marijuana trips or psilocybin trips or LSD trips is to get a kind of a glimpse, even though it's coming from yourself internally, you're getting a little glimpse into your unique understanding of what is the greater of two realities. The government doesn't want you doing that. They want you going back to sleep in a world that they told you literally on day one you should take not too seriously. You should be very merry about it. That is why when I dissect the deeper meaning behind that children nursery rhyme, I realize that hedonism is a better philosophy for going through life than the masochism of burdening yourselves with bills and debt and this and that you shouldn't even be taken too seriously. The government doesn't want you knowing that. You hear me? Therefore, it was once illegal. It's illegal because after further research and as social conditions are changing and it's post Jim Crow and post civil rights, it's no longer relevant. It has its roots and all that, but it's no longer relevant. So, with the changing of social climate and race relations in this country, and with the um, what was I going to say? With further more advanced research, medical research, they see that the benefits that they could profit, they could tax it, they could profit from it. So they slowly legalize it. When it is no longer legal. Or I should say, when it is no longer illegal in all 50 states and the federal government as well. My best guess is that they go after psilocybin mushrooms next. Which is good, which is what they ought to do. And seek to decriminalize that as well. People are still using it regardless. They're going around corners to get it by legal means. And they're not profiting from it. So if they could wipe the record of all of the, or not wipe the record, not wipe the record, if they could reduce the sentence or even give pardons to people who are users, they might wipe the record of the users and give pardons to the dealers. But whatever it is, and of course it's a process that will take some time. It's not an overnight light switch. But eventually everyone, I feel, they give them a break eventually. Everybody. But they'll start with the users first. If they could wipe the records of the users for simply choosing to put something in their own body that they choose to put there as an adult, and they start to offer dispensary license, they figure they could tactfully make a profit off the very thing that they once said was so harmful. And so now you see them slowly but surely going through a paradigm shift of legalizing the plant. I must always emphasize that it is a plant. I must always emphasize that it really is a plant or a flower. You know? Because they criminalize a plant. How dumb do you look? Even in Germany or Switzerland or wherever it is, you have the drug use version of a red light district. You know, you have these red light districts where people go and have sex down there and whatever it is. And then when they're done now, they come back out in society. It's the same thing too with drug use, you know. You have one drug use red light district, you know, in Germany, where you go there, use all the drugs you want, and come back out and be a normal member of society. So the same way that you have that in Germany, I wouldn't mind advising the US government to do something similar with drug use or with even sexual red light district for the selling of sexual services as well. They have their own district, and there are no schools or churches there or hospitals or anybody who could be disturbed or offended by that. Go there, use your drugs, have all the sex you want, come back out and come back out and live a regular life in society. You know. So when I compare the recreational resources available in many European countries compared to what's available in America, I realize America is backward. It's backward. Like the clubs are not hot, the dating scene is not hot. Everything hot is outside this country. People only come here to work and then they send remittance money back home to their country and they go back home. After 5, 10 years, they build the dream house and go back home, even though in some locations you gotta be careful though. Because you have your cutthroat brother and cousin trying to steal your house from you. And they weren't in no snow, busting their ass all day, every day. They had women in your house while you were busting your ass in snow. But they'll mark up take your house from you. So be careful. I recommend not building your dream house in a childhood district or where nobody know you. Go to a different town. My island is big enough where I can go to a different town. I have only been to 13 of the 14 parishes. And I will let you guess which one of the parishes I haven't been to yet. And that doesn't necessarily mean I will move to that parish. But of course, I will visit the parish when I get back there. Doesn't mean I'll move back there, obviously. Or move there for the first time ever, obviously. But you see my point? Go to a town you've never been before. Don't go back to your childhood hometown. Everybody is not glad to see you. The only reason why I can probably go back to Harborview is because I haven't been there in 25 years, 26 years, and nobody remembers me. Nobody will recognize me. The last time I was there, I was 9 years old. Nobody will recognize me today. I can go down to the Harborview shopping center right now and walk around in Shoppers Fair and nobody know me. Nobody. And I wouldn't tell them my childhood nickname either, because then they'll know it's me. I'll tell them, Mr. Franklin. Call me Frank. Anyhow. So just be careful, life is too short and too precious. And hedonism, to me, makes better sense than the philosophy of masochism. When you slave your ass up for somebody else to get all the benefits and you don't get nothing, it's masochism. And that doesn't mean you're enjoying the pain either, because masochism means that you're enjoying the pain. So when I say masochism, I mean it's in a very loose context, because you're not enjoying the pain. You're suffering in the pain. So that's not masochism even. That's even just torture. Wickedness, But definitely hedonism. The sweets of life. Life is too short. Life is just a dream. So obviously be responsible. Don't end up in the system by any criminal or civil means. Us men got to be careful with the women we sleep with. If we are going to sow our seed among the female gender, be very careful whom we sleep with. Very careful, obviously. Don't let her drag you to court for child support. It's either you get a vasectomy or use a condom, or you sleep with someone who you trust will be on the pill and you know she wouldn't miss a day. By the way, if you're having memory problems taking the pill, then use the injection, the contraceptive injection called what's it called again? What's it called? Hold on one moment, please. It's called the Depo-Provera contraceptive injection. You go into the clinic once every 3 weeks, they give it to you, and it gets rid of the memory, the issue of having to remember to take a pill every day. The only downside is if you're having side effects, it's different for each person. Some women have side effects, others don't. If you don't have any, great. If you don't like the way it makes you feel, obviously don't use it. It's not for you. So 3-month injection, 3-week injection. You go back to clinic every time you need to renew it. And it's convenient if you take it when going in for your other checkups. You know, you would go in for those checkups anyway, so just take it while you're there conveniently. So you don't got to remember to take a pill every day. So now, it's either, oh my gosh. So for the men now, your responsibility is such that you either the responsibility of the man is such that he either use a condom, get a vasectomy, or sleep with a woman who he can trust will remember to take the pill or go on the injection. Apart from that, as long as you're responsible, then you're free to enjoy I do apologize, folks. I'm having a little technical issue here. Let me see something here. Okay, you're free to enjoy a very hedonistic lifestyle. as long as you're responsible, because there's still consequences out there. But you have to be smart enough to elude your captors so you can truly be free and happy and hedonistic. We're preaching wellness and happiness and hedonism here on this program. Always have, as a matter of fact. But it's the first time stating it so obviously, and how fitting it is that it would happen in the week of 420. But even so, there are some responsibilities to consider to avoid the dark side of marijuana use, and we'll be covering those items in our final thoughts when we continue here on this program. Keep it locked on Frank and Upfront. Welcome back to Frank and Upfront Live on Audiophile for Audiophiles. This week's topic, the reason why they outlaw marijuana. And now my final thoughts. No, I didn't start using marijuana till I was past 30. I didn't use it in my teenage years. I didn't use it throughout my 20s. My full blood used it when he was like 13, 14. He started at 13, 14, influenced by a high school friend. And by the time he was 17, almost 18, still in school, his friend mixed in a seasoned spliff and gave him, and he thought it was straight weed. Well, it was a seasoned spliff and he couldn't handle it, and he started experiencing vertigo spells whenever he was on the train. And a part of the reason for that is that his mind couldn't handle it at that age. He was still very young, very, very young. And his mind couldn't handle it, so because he was a teenager. I hadn't even started smoking yet. I started smoking after that, the following year after that. And my smoking experience was short-lived. Because I realized it's not meant for me. I didn't like the way it made me feel. I couldn't smoke and I was sick. So it was going to make me more sicker than I always am. I usually am. Then why smoke? So I stopped smoking. And then now, a few years ago, after I turned 30, I started experimenting with the weed. Because the developed mind past 25 or 28 or 30 can handle it more effectively than a 16 or 17-year-old can. Don't smoke when you're 17. I say all that to say, not to smoke when you're 17 or not to use any form of marijuana in any shape or form when you're 17 or 18 or even 21. Wait till you're at least past 25, 26, 28, 30, 31. Yeah. But not when you're before 25. That's my recommendation. So if they're going to legalize it, they must insist that minors ought not use it. Even though minors still find access to alcohol regardless and cigarettes, they have someone big buy for them. But the only thing they should regulate is the age of majority of those who can purchase it legally. Because I truly, based on what I witnessed with my brother, I truly believe that the undeveloped 17-year-old mind can't handle it and therefore shouldn't use it. Wait till you're older. And then experiment. Microdose first to see what you can handle as you learn more about what you can or can't handle. And also considering as well your height, weight, age, and gender. And then you try using it. Try microdosing a little bit. See what you can handle. Try a little bit more of a higher dosage the next time based on what you can or can't handle. Keep going until one day you understand your spot. Too much, and the trip is loud and amplified and just really nasty. Just boom, boom, boom. You want it, it can be compressed to, it can be compared to editing an audio file. when you amplify it, if you clip it, it sounds too rough. But when you compress it back down now, it's a nice feeling, a nice sound to it. You want that nice rhythm sound to it without it sounding too rough. You don't want the rough cut. So not too little. You don't want to microdose at that point either. You don't want to overdose either. You want to find the right compressed feeling in the middle. Anybody who work on audiophiles know exactly what I'm talking about. So, yes, they should legalize it all around the world, in every country, in all 50 states in this country, and the federal government as well. And they should put an age restriction on it. And it shouldn't be available so loosely available in Walmart and all those things. You know, on the West Coast, you can get liquor in Walmart, but on the East Coast, or in Target or Ralph's or whatever it is, in the East Coast, you have to go to a specific liquor store. There's no liquor at the grocery store. It's different in California. And when I first moved out here 7 years ago, I didn't know that, and I was happy because in Jamaica you can find liquor in the liquor store, in the grocery store. I meant to say, you can find liquor in the grocery store. So when I moved to California now, I was happy to see that being the case. In New York, you have to go to a specific liquor store. It's not loosely available in grocery stores. Only beer you can find in the grocery store, but not liquor. Only beer. Not even wine, to be honest. Only beer. But on the West Coast, you can buy the liquor, all the liquor you want in Ralph's and Target and Albertsons and Walmart. All over the place. Even though the California law forbids you from going through self-checkout with the liquor because they can't verify your age based on your ID in self-checkout. Only a live agent can do that. But the same way that on the East Coast you have a specific liquor store for which liquor is not available in the grocery store, it's the same exact way that the post-legalized world of marijuana would keep them. They already have the right idea by having dispensaries. Keep them in the dispensaries. Don't put them in the grocery stores. Don't get so comfortable. They'll be harder to regulate because we don't want minors or young people to try them. And if they do try them, past 18, of course, if a post 18 young person decides to try it, you want to support them. Don't shame them and discourage them. Support them and be there for them in case that they have a bad trip. But that's their choice. We must still respect their sovereignty regardless. It's just a recommendation, however, that they should wait until they pass at least 25. It's just a recommendation. It's not really soon. If they decide to not take my recommendation, support them and be there for them in case they're having a bad trip. And don't say I told you so either. Don't be that kind of asshole. Don't say I told you so. But once again, that's between 18 and 25. That's a post 18 young adult. Right? So now, we have about 5 minutes left in the show. And we must limit minors access to them and discourage young adults access to them until they get older. Only then will they have the maturity and mental development to process and thoroughly break down what they see in their trips without being scared or anything like that. Once they understand what it is and they know that all the stuff comes from internal sources, they're less likely to develop a dependence on the stuff if their brains are more fully developed. They are less likely to become. It's not an addictive product in the first place, but or substance rather in the first place, but a younger person can develop dependence on it because they're undeveloped. Their brains are undeveloped. So that's why they gotta wait till they're older. So that they can handle it better and not develop a dependence on it. Once we understand that, they can use it in the proper context, or I should say, for the proper reasons, without abusing it, depending on it, or developing a dependence on it, or misusing it. They can be more responsible with it. And also, not only should they not develop a dependence on it, but also don't use it every day. Use it I would say that would be your Friday night treat. Same as how you would buy pizza on a Friday night and sodas and popcorn. It's the same exact way. That would be your Friday night treat. After a long week at work, whenever your Friday is, you come home and you trip. You drop off all the groceries for the weekend and you trip, and all day Saturday you trip too. And Sunday you clean up. You take your last trip Saturday night, and Sunday you clean up and get ready for Monday. Or if it's a 3-day holiday weekend like Memorial Day, for example, or Labor Day, then Sunday you trip again, and Monday you clean up for Tuesday. You see what I mean? But not every day, please. I recommend once a week. I recommend once a week or twice a week, every Wednesday and Sunday, something like that. Or an entire weekend, but not every day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, but not every night. All right? So responsible use, wait till you're older, not every night. That's all I gotta say about that. Those are my final thoughts. Next week's topic, what is the false self? I hope you'll join me then. I am Mr. Franklin. This has been Frank and Upfront.